I'm usually not good to the talks on
I'm
Facebook.
not gonna need this, because I'm not gonna, this is gonna be a conversation. This is a conversation as opposed to, because I was going to do a whole, giant, big time presentation, with slides, but I'm like, what do we need slides for?
We don't.
So hey, we're gonna be getting started very shortly. I'm just gonna drink some water.
Do you want the microphone?
Pardon me?
Do you want the microphone?
Oh yeah.
The microphone records too.
Oh good. That's what we're gonna do.
Did you figure it out?
Yeah, I got help.
Do you think you would care if I both like, I haven't understood that, but like,
I feel like you wouldn't care.
I feel like if I brought my coffee,
Okay.
honestly,
I don't know, Dan.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Jonah's gonna want to keep your cat out there.
Oh yeah.
The big dogs.
That's I have a German
Would you like
Shepherd.
rather a chair?
That's
I'm so excited to bend my body ways.
Brought the dogs.
Yeah.
Some dogs don't give a word about cats. And
Yeah.
some will go nuts over them.
Yeah.
They'll just find out what their temperament's like. I forget who brought them.
And it's like a puppy because.
Oh, the little one?
No. The German Shepherd. That was
This is my first time in 22 years of being away from my kids for
any length of time.
Oh, really?
in 22 fucking
You
years.
needed this so much.
Damn, girl.
You're gonna have more of that. I mean, not to say, it's not about getting away from them. I'm not gonna escape, but.
Isn't it though?
No, it is for me.
Oh no! You were like, no, you never had this case.
All the non-staples were like, oh yeah,
Like,
no, fuck it.
when Cassie turned 18, I was like, there was just this feeling, I was just like, I'm done. And then I'm like, why did I have more kids? Like you're 8. I still have
That's
10 more
exactly
years.
what I did.
See,
I'm not
8
shit.
years. No, I mean, I had
So
twins,
then-
and at 9, I celebrated halfway to 18.
Yeah, Joshua now 11.
Oh,
Anyway, and then my daughter just had a son. And now we have a son.
Did you find out about the cat?
What's up?
I don't really know what's happening with the dog. She's just going to chasing her around, so I'm gonna wait. The
Oh.
cat is not.
I don't think the little dogs would.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He will.
He
He's
will
not
go
had
on your fence.
exposure.
Yeah.
Well, if they're playing with the dog outside.
It's okay. I'm just gonna wait.
Alright, well, that's fine. So we're gonna get started, because it's not about how many people are here, because it's about the people, the one.
Does everyone know we're starting?
Yeah, okay, hold on,
I
I
can
can
make
make an
a
announcement.
I was like,
Or
or
you
you make a
Would
round.
you like to come join us in here?
Yeah, come on, or,
I know we have more pillows than him. Oh, I have 2. I'm being selfish.
I'm just kidding.
My butt is really enjoying this show.
comfy butt. We need a comfy butt.
Yeah, God, I really don't like you before right now.
Yeah,
I feel like I've been
and
sitting in
get- you wanna
chairs,
do a
and
little-
you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
shortens parts of your musculature.
yeah.
No, and it's like, here's a chair too that I'm literally just, it's behind me. So it's also available to here.
Oh, just a hand
My
brush in
shoes
the back.
off as well.
They just
Not
hard
like
for me to
me.
wear shoes inside the house.
I'm like,
Like,
yeah.
everything is once to take them off. It's like,
Yeah, I don't wear shoes in the
Well,
house very much either.
my only thing is, this guy's getting all funky or whatever. It's all good.
You got water.
Is someone's?
That's your pillow.
I'm here.
Alright, so hi ladies. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me for this. This is really been a long time coming, and part of why I wanted to present this and also to share this is that I've observed things. I'm a 1-3, just to let you guys know, and 1-3 manifestor, and I have ego authority. I run a relatively large group of all women manifestors. It's called Manifestors. I want to expand into working with more other types, but the bulk of my clientele and the people I've spoken to have been manifestors. I really needed to unwrap my own experience because boy, was I having one,
Can I stream this to the Manifestors?
Oh yeah, do we?
Absolutely.
I think that would be great, right?
Yeah, sure, that'd be great.
I mean, I know that you've talked about quoting or anything, but
Absolutely, and I appreciate that.
yeah. Well, I mean, whenever you do a live, you're like, okay, I'm gonna put it in here, I'm gonna tie this, I'm
Yeah.
gonna put that over that. So all of a sudden I'm like, wait, we can do more streaming.
We can do more streaming, absolutely, and it'll be
More
great because
streaming.
I'll be able to get a copy of it as well. But hopefully this one, I think the audio on this one will be amazing. So,
That's what it is.
just let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, let me just. Oh, 2021, because we're all gonna be back here in December, so.
Okay. Word. I'm gonna be here all the time.
Okay, wait. Way. All right, sweetness.
All right, thanks so much. So, hello, Kitty. We have
Good. I'm glad.
We have all these all these women, and also a cat. I feel so blessed.
And we got a guy.
And a guy. Why was sorry, Antonio? First of all, Antonio is a splenic manifester. Welcome, Antonio. Oh wait, and we've got. I didn't catch your name. Alexandra. Who's also a manifester, but I don't know what your authority is. What's your authority? You are also splenic. Okay, both of you are splenic. Did I get that right? Yes. Okay, perfect. Welcome, welcome. So, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to be here to share this with you. I'm Adrienne. Hi guys. I'm a 1-3 ego manifester, and I am the founder, really I would say co-founder of Manifestors, which is an online community consisting of all manifestor women. So that's been a great place to learn a lot. So one of the reasons I created the group, there was a few reasons. One was to attract information. You know, I'm a manifester, I like to be informed. And at the time that I got into human design almost 7 years ago, a lot of the information was being closely guarded and hidden. Now, I think that after studying more of the deeper knowledge, I kind of understand why. Because it's seductive to go really deep and get into all of the depth that is happening there. Because you want to be the biggest, the smartest, and, you know, and it's all mind, you know, it's a mental thing. So, I don't know if any of you are familiar, there's a song, I believe Carlos Jobim wrote it, and it's One Note Samba. And the One Note Samba is a great song because the lyrics are amazing. And one of the parts of the lyrics is, I have used up all the scale I know, and I just keep coming back to this one note. And the one note for human design, a lot of times, is, oh, people say, S&A, you gotta do your strategy and authority. What the hell does that really mean? And it's hard, you know, and it's much more seductive to start just diving into the gates and knowing all the things, as opposed to actually getting into an experiment, right? And the experiment is not about what you know, but where you, place your awareness and how you build your awareness into actually observing what's happening in your life and then experimenting, right? What I think of, when I think of human design and I look at the chart, I think of it as a map of your potentials, but the map is not the territory, it's something I've heard before. But I'll take it a little bit further. The map isn't telling you what the weather is in the territory. It doesn't tell you what's going on. If it rained some time ago and it's muddy, could you get bogged down? You know, so you do need to have a certain level of knowledge about human design, but all of the depth, I think, is almost best left to the professionals. It's almost like if you go to therapy and your therapist starts talking to you about, Jung versus Freud, and you're like, wait, no, you're here to help me sort out my life problems, not to talk to me about theoretical psychology. And I think that a lot of times the people who are really wanting to align with their lives are being seduced into looking at theory, when we really need a firm balance of the theory and practice. You know, it's really funny. That's from my alma mater. That was that was the shtick. Theory and practice. You have to be able to practically apply some things, to understand whether they work for you. So, all that being said, being in this wonderful group of manifestor women for so long has given me a great opportunity to, one, build relationships with women from all over the world, to actually get information about their experiments over years. Now, I will be the first to admit I am not a research scientist, and I barely squeaked through I had a research class, it was a graduate level research. I squeaked through that, and I did a good job, but it's not, I don't know that that is my strong point. Like, I don't have all the references, it's just stuff up in here, and I can tell it to you. So, after observing so many people in their experiment over time, I'm starting to see what deconditioning actually looks like. And so when I met human design, one of the first things that offended me after being told that I was angry as a manifestor, and I was like, I'm not angry, I was mad. I was angry about, anyway. One of the things that really like just got my goat, because I am a manifestor, but I've always been fast at things. Like, I do shit fast. So I'm like, oh wait, they're saying 7 years. Pretty sure I can do this in 2 years,
Right.
3 years. Boom, got it, right?
Yes.
You know, and yeah. So that was one of those things that, as I approached my 7th year, which, you know, the going knowledge says, hey, it takes 7 years to decondition. And I actually believe that. I think deconditioning is an ongoing process even afterwards, like maybe it's maintenance. But the 7 years is about the deep, you know, getting rid of the programming that you were given most of the time in childhood, but sometimes, you know, into early adulthood, all of that programming, being able to start to purge that and to recognize where you are acting out someone else's authority, really, and it's their external authority that they gave to you, and they're not aligned, so they told you some wrong things. You know, they told you things that were wrong for you. So it does take some time. So as I started to, you know, observe all of this, part of my background is I was a project manager for basically Fortune 10 companies. I worked running large technology projects, which is funny because it's not like I'm a technophobe now, but not nearly as interested in it as I used to be. And that was actually, in a lot of ways, part of my deconditioning. I won't forget what I know, but I won't have that career because I made that career choice out of conditioning. So that's one of the things that, you know, what I observed. When you are going through the deconditioning process, a lot of the things that you chose and or you gained while you were conditioned will fall away. So that's why I'm here in front of you here. Like, this is a complete departure from my former life. If people from my former life could see me now, some of them might not be surprised. Because I might have been telling someone on the ride over, like, I used to take people for mental health walks. Like, yeah, because I was really good at helping people to relax away from tension. I'm a cross of tension. I didn't know that was even what my cross was about. But even if I had read it so many years ago, if I had, with my mind, tried to act that out, I probably would have effed it up because I was still deeply conditioned. So, I'm introducing Poet to you. So I'm sharing some of my secret sauce, and I hope that if any of you are human design coaches, or really not even just human design coaches, because the idea here is there are some people out here who are teaching human design, and I love that. Teaching the system is so necessary because there are people we're going to need to carry that banner. But I like to teach deconditioning. I like to get people into their experiment. I don't want to tell you all about all of this. Hey, baby, we got dogs. I'm sorry, guys. We got some puppies. This is so nice. Hey, sweetie.
That's Kaya.
That's is that yours?
Ours.
Ours? Okay. I have a German Shepherd as well. Okay. Sorry, let me get back on point. So, Poet, originally, when I first, that's what it was. We also have a cat, and now we have a dog, and the cat is not down for this dog shenanigans. Cat's like, leave me Oh, what the heck? Anyway. So anyway, poet originally stood for peace over everything. Because I, as a manifestor, it was so necessary for me to prioritize peace. But I had to decondition enough to even start to understand what peace felt like. It took me probably 3 to 4 years before I actually knew what peace felt like. Before I knew that peace wasn't standing still. I have dynamism in my chart. I'm a dynamic person. I move around a lot. You'll see me, I'm very expressive. So it wasn't about me being still, even though someone's mind might want to convince you that peace looks like being still. I'm not gonna name no names, but a famous projector coach out there in the world, whom I love, like I literally would hug this man, I don't give a damn. But he told a manifestor who came to me that she wanted peace, that she should go sit on a rock and just sit there and meditate. And I was like, that ain't gonna work for you, sis, because you got all this movement in your chart. You gotta actually move. You gotta find peace and meditation in movement, which is possible because meditation isn't sitting still for every person. You know, we all have different ways of operating. So eventually, poet evolved to mean pillars of experimentation and transformation. Boom, baby. Okay, listen. I want to say that it's not about how much you know, it's about how willing you are. Have you ever heard you have to know, to will, to dare, and to be silent? Have you ever heard about that? You ever heard that? I don't know where it's from, but somebody's heard that here.
Will you say this again?
To know, to will, to dare, and to be silent. I'll tell you about what I think the silence means, but to know is to get informed. And I think that's what happens when you get your first reading, or your crazy friend comes running at you with a piece of paper like, I got your chart! You're this or you're that! And they want to tell you things. This is where the knowledge begins. And it does start with, to some extent, an amount of knowledge. You have to know the basics. So the first pillar for entering your experiment and using human design as a basis is that you need to get some of the basics of human design. And when I say the basics, I'm talking pretty surface. This is partly why when you're in like a group and you're asking a crazy question and they're just like, just follow your strategy and authority. And it's like, they're telling you the truth, but they haven't gone deep enough. First of all, strategy is for your mind. And we know that deconditioning, even though deconditioning impacts the body, we can't be too confused about it. It actually originates in your awareness. So we have to start where you are. And where you are is in the mind. 99% of the people are in the mind. So this is where we're starting. And to think that you're going to actually get someone into their authority when they're all mind. So if you're coaching people, if you're working with folks, it's really important to start with strategy, right? And the thing about it is you gotta have a good understanding of strategy. That's a tragedy. The tragedy. You gotta have a good understanding of strategy before you can guide people, and not with this mental stuff. Like, you know, the projector that is told to wait, but has all of this not waiting in their chart. You have to understand that there is some specificity in the chart, and this is partly why the basics are necessary. You cannot bypass the basics. Yesterday I was in a workshop and someone was like, yeah, I was studying base and all this deep stuff and I hadn't studied the open centers. Holy shit, guys, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Because you're using mind to absorb stuff and contemplate things that is not meant for the mind. That's meant for a more advanced awareness, which you all have within you. Okay? Nobody is exempt. Everyone has the potential to differentiate. Differentiation is for everyone. Right? So it's there for you, but you can't start there. You can't start at all that deep differentiating stuff because your mind will contort it into something so ugly, you'll put yourself in a trap. You put yourself in a trap, and don't worry, you'll work yourself out because if you've gone that deep, you'll have to come back to resurface to catch some air. And let me tell you, the salvation is at the surface. Ross said it all the time. And you know, Rob was on my nerves, y'all. Y'all don't understand. I listened to a lot of recordings. His voice used to break my nerves. I was like, oh my God. Oh. And then his voice started to be comforting. Then it was like a Pavlovian response, like, what are you gonna tell me now? Okay, what's gonna happen now? And that's that. When I got to that point, I mean, it just took time. It took time. He still annoys me sometimes. I'm like, I wish he was alive so I could argue with him. I'm sorry.
I feel that was his unconscious 4323, like, because it's such a projected channel. It's like, for me,
It's everything.
it was almost like I felt like it structured me to be authentic, my authentic self, but
Yeah.
then I stopped getting called to listen to him because I would notice how much he would structure me.
Yeah.
After I would listen to him, I'm like, whoa, now I'm becoming something that's like I listen on to something that's not me, you know,
Yeah.
a channel I don't have, and I'm like, whoa, now this is being structured into me like I do have it, and I have to like embody that it's not me, but I'm just learning about this, and so very powerful channel.
And that's again is very interesting distinction. I think, like, you know, when you think about someone who has a 5-1 profile, they're here to universalize. And so, yeah, you're gonna get that structure. They condition people. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of, you know, with my 5 people, I love them. But you ain't gonna tell me what to do. I didn't ask for your help. I asked if I need some help, but I haven't asked. So which one? Stop.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Sometimes you got to pull away from the recordings and all of that. So again, so the first pillar is the basics of human design. So when I say basics, we can think about, first of all, strategy. Okay, we have a projector here. What's the projector strategy?
Wait for the invitation.
Okay, now as a projector, wait for the invitation. What does it really look like? Does it look like just sitting around waiting? No. Projectors need to be living their best lives all the time. They need a sweet life. That's what I tell them all the time. You gotta be living a sweet life. And the sweet life means that, you know, I use one of my great projector friends, and I have a few of them who are living the sweet life. I had a friend who was, she was transitioning from the automotive industry into the cannabis industry, and she danced for 5 years until they noticed her. But that's not true. Every year she was making more connections, you know, with the projector. Your network is your net worth. Don't hang around with bums, man, unless you want to be the 5th one. If you hang around with 4 bums, you're going to be the 5th one. With a projector, it's very important that if they have their sights set on a certain type of goal or lifestyle or whatever it is, because then you got to have that sense of success. You got to be around the right people. Now the thing about it is, you're not going to know who the right people are because your mind's making choices for you.
That's where authority comes in.
Exactly, but authority is going to be something you can't sense for years, and I say that with all confidence. I have not met anyone whose authority was talking to them immediately. Now, if you were doing some other spiritual practice or something that might have brought you close to your authority, absolutely. Some people are a little closer, but for the majority of people, it's going to take a while. So strategy is just something to play around with. So say you're a projector and it's wait for the invitation. It's waiting for the invitation to guide others.
And for like the big things, but I heard a
Yeah, the big
projector give a really good like analogy of it, or metaphor, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
where she said, think of a spider. That spider is actively spinning and creating its web. She would sit and watch them do it. And she goes, and then they sit back and everything comes to them. So your waiting isn't necessarily inactivity, doing nothing, you know,
It's
but actually.
I love that.
Yeah.
That spider web analogy is so good because that's kind of what my friend Margot did. Like right now, she got weed maps in her back pocket. Y'all, like she's been making relationships all around the country. And to be witness to that, to see all that she's done, she was weaving a web. She's also Scorpio. She got that Scorpionic energy. She was like, yeah, if I just keep doing it. I remember she was going through a really tough time, like, because you as a projector, the sweet life does include sometimes a tough time. But I remember there was just an image in my mind of her standing in the middle of the road, a little girl in a dress, and a Mack truck bearing down on her, and she's staring it down because she knows that she's going to win. So you can't quit and you can't give up. But it's not about working yourself to death either. It's about getting the right connections and really having a good network.
And then I've noticed, because like me personally, I am a generator, but I have a projector design
Yeah.
and I reflect your personality, so I have a lot of projector channels.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that I enjoy mastering systems that I want to guide other people in my free time, like taking in the knowledge of like health and wealth and business, because those are things I want to guide it. Even though I'm a generator, I only have 59.6 as my only generating, so it's like only when there's conflict. That emotional conflict is when I'm generating. So it's like I really love that about my projectorness is like what I put in my aura. That's people can tell it's in there. Yeah. And then they ask me questions about those systems that I've put in my aura. And so that's what I tell projectors in my readings. It's like, you live your life for you. If you want to start a YouTube channel, you do that.
Absolutely.
If you want to do this, you don't need an invitation to do any of that to live your life. It's just guiding the other. Because you can see so much.
And that is so important. So the distinction about the waiting makes you think you got to sit on a shelf. You're not ever going to be on the shelf. And that mastery of systems is, nobody puts baby in the corner. The mastery of systems is really the power of the projector. And once you tell the projector that, now they're like, well, what system do I have to master? I always start off with, what systems have you already mastered? Because literally, you're probably sitting on a gold mine already. There's things that you already know. And until you have done an inventory, like one of the exercises I do with projectors is sit down and just do a dump of all the things that you know, that you've done, that you've seen. Just it's crazy. It's just like that, just spit it out, just write it down. And then they find out, wait, I'm so valuable. You want a projector to see themselves? Have them do something like that, because it's on paper and now they're looking at it and it's apart from them and it's themselves. So we're going to move on to, just another strategy. I know we got a couple of manifestors here. What's your type? You're a manifesting generator?
Manifestor.
You're a manifestor? All right. You know what? As a generator, because I love how you seem very knowledgeable. Your name is Victoria. And the generator strategy is to
respond. External stimulus, not my own mind, the synchronicities of my life, that my mind is created. I got a couple of favorite numbers, favorite animals, there's things that in my unique experience I created that light me up. I'm like, and instead of, 333, what does that mean on the collective? I'm like, wait, what was I thinking? Because that just lit me up. And then I'm like, okay, here we go. And then it's boom, 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 boom.
It doesn't mean anything, but what was I thinking?
Exactly. It's what was my unique mind thinking in that moment, because there was the external stimulus, because I've noticed the mind is in linear time. So if I'm responding to that, that's where I get in my own way. And I'm like, I knew this was coming, but I got in my own way by making a mental decision like, I gotta send this email right now, instead of waiting till I feel like it. And so then I realized it's that external stimulus, because the external stimulus is telling me divine timing. It's telling me the body's timing rather than my mind's, we got 24 hours in a day and this and this and this and this, and I just pulled myself out of it. And then as emotional, I realized how lit up I can get by people speaking about the future. My sacral's in it. It's like, oh my God, that event that you guys are talking about sounds so great. And then boom, my mind commits. And then it's like, that event's next Friday. It's like my mind will it'll eat ways because I gotta look a type of way for the event. It'll do certain things because I gotta look good for the event. And then the day of the event, I'm exhausted.
Exhausted. I'm thinking about the event.
Exactly.
And that's I love that explanation. Thank you so much, because when I talk to a generator, it's like you're waiting for external stimulus, but you're also living your life.
Exactly.
You're just going through your day to day, and the external stimulus is so important, because I think a lot of people don't know the difference between something external to them and then what's coming from the mind. And that's hard.
So my experience yesterday was I woke up, and it was also like I'm a man gen.
Okay, manifesting generator here.
Emotional as well.
Christiane, I love
Christiane, I love you too. So basically, I woke up, and all of a sudden, there was this thought in my head like, oh, like I just mentioned, I'm on a budget on this trip. I'm being very mindful of my finances. But I woke up yesterday, I'm like, you know what? I was like, I want to donate. I was like, I just want to donate. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe I can do $20 right now. Let me feel into that. And then when we met at the park for the meet and greet, I found out about the $50 bags that I tuned into, and I'm like, yeah, okay, no, I'm gonna donate. And it was just like, but it was a response to what came through as well. It wasn't an external, it was an internal. It was like that came up for me to respond to. Is that
Oh, I understand,
right?
like maybe like something that's priming the pump.
Yeah.
And that's
She's emotional, so that
Yeah.
happens. It's
Yeah.
like you think about the budget, and then time goes on, the wave goes on, and then you get the external stimulus.
Yes.
That happened to me. Like I was not trying to spend any money, and I was at a festival, and it stopped me. My body stopped me at a wand stand, and my body was
You
like,
need a wand.
yeah, you're gonna get a wand right now. And then I pick up the one that I thought I would want because it's my favorite colors. And I'm
Right.
like, nope, this isn't it. And then I body tested all of them. I was like, oh, cool, my body wants the one that's $333.
Of course your body wants
It literally was just like, you're buying this so you know this isn't real.
Yeah.
This money is not real. Trust us in
Yes.
this moment.
Yeah.
That wand is still in my room.
Yeah.
I haven't touched it.
I haven't touched it.
It's
One
beautiful.
day it's
Beautiful.
gonna be
It's beautiful. It's got a bunch of crystals on it, but it was my authority like telling me, yo, it's not about the money. It's not about these things.
Yeah.
Trust this moment.
Yeah.
Trust how you
Process.
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such
Trust
a
the
beautiful,
response,
like,
you know?
yeah.
I love that. So like the thing about it is I'm not gonna go through all of the different strategies, but just the idea that, and especially with these people who
No.
oh good, but this is not me. I feel like I'm always my phone's always ringing.
Right.
So like the whole idea here is just that it took time for you guys to come to that. You had to experience and even first learn about the strategy and then get those nuances. So the idea is that these seeds of information have to be planted, and the basic stuff that I think that anybody that wants to seriously experiment, they're gonna need to know strategy. They're going to need to know about authority, but they're gonna have to also understand you may not be able to feel it immediately, right? So what you're doing is you're practicing a lot. Like if you're an emotional authority person, it's all this, it's waiting. I'll get back to you on that. That kind of thing, just not making the decision in the now, not allowing the hype and the feel to really make you commit to something. That's something to experiment with, and that experimentation is all of these things. All this knowledge is actually built to improve your awareness. It's a trick. I think Rob was like real crafty. He really wanted you guys to meditate and pay attention to yourselves. But what he did was, he's like, well, I'm coming up with this. Well, he didn't come. He had a voice, but he's coming up with a way for you to look at yourself, to see yourself.
A logical way.
A very logical way to commit your attention to yourself. And the thing about it is, I've taught at workshops about attention. And the thing about attention is, when you're conditioned, the attention is biased at first. It wants to judge. And so that's what one of the next steps is, to unbias your attention. So first things first, pillar number 1 is the basics of human design. I would say the basics of human design go all the way into eventually gate thematics, all the way into, what I was like, definitely the centers. You gotta know about your defined centers, but those undefined centers are in my mind, the troublemakers. So those are very important to know about. Eventually knowing about connections, but your own. I don't look at other people's charts that often. Well, I do, because I do readings, right? But I don't commit it to memory, and I don't try to manipulate the people in my environment based on what I know about their design, because it's a form of black magic.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I'm a black magician. I mean, not just because I'm black, y'all. but
That's so real.
yeah, but it really is. So like, just do you. Eyes on your own paper. Don't, if you study somebody else, you're never gonna graduate.
Yeah.
Study you. Because when you study yourself, oh my gosh, you will interact with the other in a different way. And they'll either get on board or they won't. You'll listen, people will vibrate right out of your existence. Because as you decondition, you will not be suitable to be around them anymore. What is conditioning anyway? Conditioning is becoming suitable for a purpose. When you're deconditioning, you're becoming less suitable for the purpose of what? Homogeneity, being like everyone else, you become less suitable. And I love that. I don't want to be suitable for anybody else's machinations. I got enough shit to do on my own. So anyway, but we'll move forward. The next one, which I think is kind of like all of these tie into each other, and there are 6 total. Awareness. Now, with awareness, of course, learning the basics and starting to at least observe those things will increase your awareness, but some people do not have the capacity to recruit their awareness for this purpose. They will learn a thing, they will regurgitate the thing, and they're not doing it. You can tell, like you're just feeling it. You're like, okay, all right. You know it, sure, but what the hell's going on with your life? Like what's going on with you? So for me, I've gotten some awareness exercises that I've pieced together from many different places. One of my favorite ones is just literally to take an object and to look at it for 2 minutes without naming it, without thinking about, like you can't say, you want your mind to stop thinking about it. You're looking at it, you're just looking at it. Focusing every bit of your attention simply on looking at it. Do you know how hard that is for some people? It's very difficult. So marshaling our attention is very important, because how can you observe serendipity in your life? How can you observe, how do you know when there's external stimulus? And especially when your body is sending up a flag, your generator is sending up a flag that this external stimulus requires your response. If you don't have awareness, first off, to see the external, and then next you're starting to work on the internal awareness, well, hell, you can't experiment if you can't see. If you can't even begin to be willing to see. So awareness exercises come in all shapes and sizes. You can literally Google it. I told you one, which was the kind of staring at an object, but there are ways for you to marshal your attention. Yes, Victoria?
I would watch my mind when it would walk through a room. It would literally label everything. Chair, lamp, wall. I'm like, whoa. Okay, like it really has a reason for everything existing. Okay,
Yes.
and without those,
making machine.
without those reasons, it's like, oh my God, what is everything?
It wants to
name.
it wants to name it. It wants to so one
There's a whole story.
One awareness exercise I participated in was misnaming things.
Oh yeah, I love doing that.
Oh, man, it's a mind trip. Like literally, you can alter your consciousness through just simple awareness.
Yeah.
Now I'm into entheogens and hallucinogens, so I'll do that too. But you can have an altered perception.
Just staring at something for
Just
5 minutes.
staring at something for 5 minutes.
Or assimilate and become the thing.
Yeah.
When you go inside and you imagine, like, if I look at the lamp so it's in front of me, what it's like to feel that, to notice it. And usually for me that's closed-eyed after I've tagged it mentally and kind of imagined. What does it feel like to be hard like that, to sit on the table? What is my weight like? What is all of that? And to actually go into an object and be it for a moment.
I love that. Now I've not done something like that, but I love that. So as you can see, it's a diverse way to approach it. But building awareness, super important. So I'll move on to the next one, which it's really funny because I feel like some of these are, the way I'm telling them to you, there's 6 of them on purpose. I adore the structure of the I Ching, the Book of Changes, the System of Changes, and if you're trying to change yourself, which is a transformation, I don't know, it's kind of like a good thing. So the number 3 is going to kind of correspond to the third line. If you come with me, guys. Experimentation. So what is experimentation really? We're going to go back to the scientific method. Y'all remember the scientific method?
It's all they taught us in school.
Yeah.
Make money or pay taxes. Scientific method.
Yeah, you gotta have this. The scientific method is a really great framework for experimentation. And I don't know if anybody has really noticed, the scientific method also has 6 pieces. Yeah.
We're doing it all the time.
And we're doing it all the time
Hypothesis,
anyway.
Testing the theories, variables, controls, like We're doing it all the time.
We're doing it all the time.
It's just school was like, you have to have a PhD to be a scientist.
Yes,
You
exactly.
can't just be a human.
Yeah.
No, you can't just be a human. You gotta do this, this experimentation is always happening, but what happens when you do it on purpose? With the purpose of just becoming intimate with yourself. You know, and that's how,
One free life.
oh yeah, one free life, yeah. So I mean, as a third line, I'm like here to tell you what supposedly what works. This experimentation for me works really well, and I recognize that, you know, all of us are designed differently. For some, the 3 energy, the experimentation energy, the bumping into things is not their normal mode of operation. But I'm here to tell you, we are constantly being conditioned from the sky. We are constantly experiencing other people. Don't worry, you can access 3 energy. 3 energy is there for you. And it will allow you to become wise about things. So,
And I feel like it's a way to help your mind become your ally in the experiment.
absolutely. Because that's what you're doing. You're recruiting this wayward mind, this monkey mind that's like, the sky is falling.
For you.
Yeah, it can work for you. Literally, you can ask your mind to do things. Like, hey, mind, you know, like for a while I was giving myself 15 minutes in the morning to worry. And I would say, mind, fucking go wild. But after this 15 minutes, you have to go and do the work that I want you to do. You gotta, you know, chill out. Look out for me being angry. How can you do that? Can you look out for my not self? Ask your mind to do it. Like, literally, sincerely ask your mind to do it. And you'd be surprised at what
It's aware of itself.
it is.
It wants
Yeah.
to be the homie. It wants
It really
to be your
does.
friend.
It does. It's like it's a friend, but it's like the worried friend a lot of
Yeah.
times. And it's like, oh no, sugar, you ain't gotta worry like that. Why you so worried? You know, it's worried because it hasn't been. Oh, I hate to use the word disciplined, because gosh, but it does. It needs to be a disciple of your higher self.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it wasn't taught to trust the flow of the body and
No.
the flow of life. It was taught linear time.
It was absolutely tough. So okay, let's go
It's
over
purpose
the
is bodyguard.
science, the scientific method, right? So first, you're forming a hypothesis, right? So usually, maybe before that, the hypothesis here, right, is the basis of human design. The hypothesis is, I have an open root center, right? I have an open root center, and these are the characteristics of a not self open root center. And I'm going to begin to take pieces of that and experiment with that. So the thing about your experimentation, it probably at the beginning especially starts off very specific. Get like specific. Like for me, looking at the root, when I found out that being rushed, I have an open root, being rushed, and I was like, I've been rushing around all my life. What would happen if I stopped being so rushed? What would happen if I stopped committing to as much stuff? Because how else, why was I being rushed? Why I was overcommitted? Now, there are some markers in my chart that will tell you that. But this is kind of what you need, why you have to have the basics of human design before you can really start to form these experiments, you know? And
I was thinking, like, what about when you kind of find that allowing the pressure to build in that intensity is like how you get stuff done. Like there's not enough energy unless that builds. Like waiting till the last minute to study your tests and stuff like that.
well,
It's an addictive pattern.
one is
And
addicting.
biologically.
It's biologically addicting. Like there was a TED talk out there about being late and being a procrastinator, and literally your physiology, right? Because I know you're very smart about the physiology and the nervous system.
Yeah.
You are training your nervous system by your behavior patterns, and the behavior pattern of being rushed, it's adrenalizing yourself, which for me is dangerous. It does not work. My design, I'm so open. I have 7 open centers, and I can't really handle that. But I had been tuning my system to handle that for so long. This was my normal.
Yeah.
What happens when your normal is abnormal, but you don't know it because it's all you've ever known? What's abnormal? Normal is whatever you know, whatever has been for a while, right? It's not, you know what I mean?
So what I found for myself, and I've been hearing like this come up for me a couple times during this talk, is like before we can find the like balance in the middle, we've been living in this, and we need, for me anyway, I'm not gonna say everybody, but I have to swing the other way. I have to have the complete opposite before I can find that real balance in the middle. I can't go straight from, you know, having this open route and like over every, you know, and my mom has an open route too. I mean, she ran us ragged. My brother and I both are open, and we're both manifestors. But anyway, she ran us ragged with our open sacral and our open route, and so I had to like completely like that's what 2020 was for me, was being able to say no to. Not that anything was happening. And then being able to just be like, whoa, so this is what it feels like for the first time in 42 years of not having any pressure to do anything.
Yeah.
And like getting back to that as my homeostasis and then building on that. Like coming to this conference, I just was following what felt correct to me. I wasn't like feeling in, because what happens with my open route is it will throw everything off in my system. My open centers, but also my divine. Like my emotional waves are, you know, and I can't hear my spleen anymore. You know, like nothing.
It triggers my emotional waves too.
Oh, without a doubt. And so,
Yeah.
you know, as I was getting ready for the conference to come here, right, I just kept being like, wow, I'm supposed to leave tomorrow, and that's not feeling correct to start packing yet. Okay, that's interesting. And I'm like, am I gonna, you know, and then the next day, and I told Misha, I was like, my mind was like, I'm gonna leave at 10 o'clock because it's a many hour drive, and I was just like, but I'm not gonna pressure myself, and I'm just gonna flow as best I can. Like, it wasn't perfect. I was like, I'm just gonna flow and do. My oldest daughter was feeling pressure, and then then I felt her pressure, and that was different. But anyway, it threw me at the end. But I was just flowing with it, and it was correct, and there was no pressure. And I was able to just do it. And it wasn't because I let the pressure build up. It's because I allowed my body to guide me without giving into the pressure. Does that make sense? And then the timing was perfect. Everything was perfect about it.
What about pressure versus like pace or speed? Like I would say, for instance, I could see like pressure, like when I was trying to get here and make money and see my friends, it was pressure to pull it all off. But when I'm walking down the street, when I'm walking down the street, I love a fast pace. It feels good to me to move fast. I like being quick.
You're left. Your variables are left.
Okay. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a part of it that like might be me that
But
loves
that's
to
not-
move quick,
Right.
and then a part of it, like I was
that's
saying,
different
like,
from the rushing pressure.
yeah,
That's
that'll be a
different.
fun one to play with.
Yeah, moving quickly is different than a rushing pressure.
Yeah, rushing is pressure.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to tune into that.
Yeah.
I've also
Really
noticed, I
good.
mean, he has a undefined route, manifesto partner, and the other day we were laying in bed, and literally he said one statement where he shoulded himself. He's like, oh, I should clean my room. And literally his whole body started from that one should.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you realize that you were completely relaxed and then you shoulded? And now all of a sudden you're like this, and he's like, oh my god. But then he was able to calm down again.
Yeah.
Like it's just like those just words that the mind uses to activate, like
Expectations that come
exactly.
Yeah. And that's where all those patterns come in too, is that that's all mind and
Exactly.
yeah.
We should do this, we should do that, linear time, oh my gosh, da 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 da,
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's one of the things that, you know, when you start to experiment, it's about observing those things, becoming aware, like, you know, so seeing it in the chart, raising your awareness, making sure your awareness is available and marshaled to this. And then you are going to create your experiment. So when you say, like, I'm gonna feel into that, or I'm gonna do something with that, my thing is, I hear people like, I'm in my experiment. And I'm like, well, how does your experiment look? I think people love to experiment with things like PHS because it's a tangible, food. This is something I have to do every day, so I don't have to really marshal my attention for it.
Nice.
But what about that rushing feeling? That being rushed, like, I had to inform people around me about feeling rushed. Because I was like, just letting y'all know, I'm not gonna be doing it. So, like, I remember my partner,
See you when I see you.
yeah, it was hilarious because we were going somewhere, and I clearly was. He was ready. He was all dressed and ready to go. I mean, he does military showers. I don't understand what his life is about, but he's so fast. He's a
Like 2 minutes.
It's super. Yeah, it's a manifesting generator. He can get in the shower, out of the shower, and dressed in 8 minutes. I
You
don't.
got no legs to shave.
Yeah, he doesn't have legs to shave. I just don't understand what his life is about. So he does that. So he's ready and he's waiting. And
See a friend group?
okay. No, he's open. He's very rushed. He's very new in this experiment. But he got out. Look, he got up off the couch and went outside and started the car. Now he has a car that has like special exhaust on it, so it's rumbly, like this rumbly car. And I was not moving any faster. I heard the car cut off, and he comes back in and just sits down. Because I was like, we're leaving when I'm ready. We're not leaving because you went outside and put on your rumbly ass car. I don't care about your rumbly car. You know, you're gonna go. We're doing this when I'm ready to go. Like, because I mean, not just I set the time. You know, we both have to be ready to leave.
Yeah.
So good, you're ready to go, but I'm not. So we're not leaving until that happens. Anyway, so again, setting up your experiments is really important, and being able to shape a proper experiment for yourself, again, is based on you having a grasp of the knowledge. Because you could be trying to experiment with stuff that it doesn't matter. Like, I'll tell you something. I have the money line, and I see everybody wants to manifest money and wealth and abundance. And I'm like, you might be experimenting on the wrong thing, and you might end up finding a system or finding a way to make money that will trap you in misery. This is why you have to be so careful. Like, y'all think rich people, they're not miserable rich people? They kill themselves. Like, it's a lot of miserable rich people, or people who have a lot of wealth. And so it's not about the wealth itself. It's about you having the correct life. And the thing is, your correct life may not have a lot of material wealth acknowledged by the world, but if you're a generator, you'd be completely satisfied with this life you're living. Or if you're a manifestor, you'd be in complete peace with it. If you're a projector, you're going to be living a sweet life, and your sweet life doesn't have to measure up to some external thing that they're talking about out there, because that's the homogenization. The revolution the revolution won't be televised. Homogenation is televised. Woo. Right.
I'm across the revolution, so I don't know that.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love that revolution stuff. So, okay, we'll move on, because I think what I'll do is, I'll do a follow-up. We'll go deeper into, maybe I'll do another little session, because we'll go directly into the
So what you're saying is that you did need 2 hours.
I probably did. I did need 2 hours. He was right. Jonah knows stuff. Jonah knows things.
What is it though? Can you give like a summary?
I could. Well, it's kind of just the experimentation, but I think it'll be better if I do a smaller. It'll just another. Yeah.
I just have a question. So when you say that we need to start with the basics, where do you recommend we find this information for ourselves? I know I asked you this, but like, I'm curious in case.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that doesn't know anything from it?
So yeah, my thing is, okay, so how does one learn the basics of human design? I don't think a reading is actually giving you all the basics. I think a reading is an introduction to whet your appetite and to see whether or not you're interested enough to go on to find out more. So like, you know, right, everybody has different profiles, so your ways of learning are going to be different. But the main point is, you have to do it yourself. You are being called out. So the thing is, some crisis in your life happens. That's like the knock on the door to come and invite you to the hero's journey. And your hero's journey is all about you, which means you have to go and learn this stuff for yourself. So I'm going to get to that, because like, we've covered the bottom of the trigram if you guys didn't realize it. You know, number 1, learning the basics of HD. And I'll give you some more information about that in a minute. 2, awareness. You have to have really good awareness, skills. How can you pay attention in a world that is always trying to distract you? Distraction, okay, this world, you want to know the keys to success and making money in this world? Be deep instead of shallow. There's a book called Deep Work. I don't know the author's name. But literally Jung, did you know that Carl Jung, famous psychologist, he built a stone cottage away from Vienna. And he would go to his stone cottage for months at a time and work on his stuff. And he would walk in the wilderness and he would work on his stuff. And that's where all of these deep theories came from. The same thing kind of happened with Darwin. He was a young guy. He didn't mean to be a researcher in the way he was. His father wanted him to be a doctor or a priest or something. He wasn't very smart, allegedly. He got called out to go on a ship that was sailing to the New World. He was the only scientist aboard. Everybody else was like merchants. But he was given the ability to go and just fall into these new places where people hadn't documented the animals and all that. The theory of evolution came out of the man who was able to get isolation and to get deep. So you have to understand, you want to get success, satisfaction, all that. It's about depth. But whatever. I'll move on. So 1, 2, 3. We got the bottom of the trifling. Huh?
Says the first one profile.
That's true. Yeah. You might not. I mean, the thing is, getting deep. Okay, so when I say getting deep, I'm not talking about deeply researching. I'm talking about immersion, and I think immersion is for everybody.
Yeah.
Get your body in the damn water. Stop playing around. Dip your toes in.
And it doesn't always mean alone in solitude.
No, it doesn't always mean alone. It just means being immersed.
Because what?
Yeah, you gotta split
alone is an immersion.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, when we talk about awareness I think awareness is going to require some solitude because you need to know yourself. But it's about immersion. Get in, right?
It's the solitude and then practicing it, like what you learned in solitude with the others, not losing it because the others are around.
Yeah. So going up into the next level, community. So even though I told you about all of these are, what do we call them? I'm not going to call it a binary. Everything, this is a dualistic world. Just understand, your process is going to be dualistic. So I'm saying alone, but also with people.
Yeah.
So this is where community comes in. You need community and you need solitude. You need awareness, but you also sometimes do need distraction. Don't play. If you are so focused, then you can mess that up too. So you need awareness and distraction. You need to know the basis of human design, but go goddamn study something else. Okay, maybe you're a one at a time kind of person. Maybe don't go study something else. Maybe just go for a walk and stop looking at it.
Yeah.
Because some people just
Watch a movie. Yeah.
HD, they can't look away. Like, oh my God, look away. And then with the experiment, sometimes you aren't going to be experimenting. Sometimes you're just living, and it's fine. The experiment is not about constant. So I just want you to know, community, having a good community. I have Manifestors. I've got Brandy over here. I know she's working her ass off making a community in Las Vegas, and so I look at Nova. You're immersed in all kinds of. I feel like you know everybody. Like all the people know you, and you know the people.
It's just because my name stands out. Everybody knows me.
Yeah, but not only that, but community was one of the ways that I learned human design in the beginning. We got together and maybe we didn't know anything, and so we went and we sought the information and brought it back and got to talk about it, talk about our experiment. So the thing about community is we are humans. We are not solitary creatures. I don't care how individual your circuitry is. You live in an interdependent world, and in some ways, your differentiation relies on the fact that you have contact with other people. How the hell are you gonna know who you are, really, if you can't, you know who you are, but really the testing of it and the expression of it happens when you contact other people. Mm-hmm. And communities are great places to learn. Now, they can be great places to become highly conditioned to somebody else's way of thinking, so you have to have your guard up. But there are benefits to working in groups with people, which is like shared momentum and synthesis. Yes.
I cannot share enough, like, the community that we have, 5 of us in this room. Victoria has started in Southern California, Costa Mesa, and literally, like, I'm on a fast track process of deconditioning because there's literally a community home where I get to go to on a weekly basis and bi-weekly basis and like literally communicate this with family and tribe, and my deconditioning is just like boom, boom, boom.
And that's the thing that I'm talking about, the synthesis and the momentum that happens when you can meet with people. And I hate the terms like-minded. We don't want to call it like-minded. We have people who are they have a similar goal. They all want to differentiate. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be like each other. Yeah. They want to differentiate. And when you have that as the forming principle for your community, this is where instead of, because it's really funny, I'm remembering Jonah talking about like the fourth base. Instead of creating a system that brings everybody in so that you can exploit them, you're actually creating a system that brings everyone together so you can free them.
Yeah.
So you can free yourself, free your ass, you
I
know?
literally only have one fourth line, and it's my 10.4. So the behavior, and one of our foundations is great minds think alike, but fools rarely differ.
Woo! Great minds think alike.
Real saying. It's like great minds do think alike, but fools rarely differ because they're conditioned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I love this. Like I love that, and I want to know much more about your community because the thing is, I think the in-person community is so important because the interaction of the auras, and it's kind of the immersion, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think
if you're gonna learn a language, the best place to do is go to that country.
Yeah,
and
or
spend time in it,
or get you a boo who speaks. I'm the only person with Mexican that don't speak no damn Spanish, and I want to learn Spanish so bad. So I think I'm gonna drag his ass to Spain, and we all gonna learn Spanish. Okay, anyway.
Spanish, just so you know.
No, yeah. Wait, what?
It's a different kind of Spanish than like.
Well, I know. It's the listening Spanish. I think that's next. I mean, like, you know.
Just inform me. Of course you're gonna go to Spain.
So here's the other, now this is kind of going into that fifth line energy, peer mentorship. This is where you have a tighter relationship with one person. So the community is giving you one energy. That's that fourth line energy. The fifth line is this peer mentorship. This is this one-to-one. We do it.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
We do.
Yeah.
Y'all
I
do
deal
it.
with each person
Exactly.
in the community.
That's that like cohort that we
Yes, we have a cohort.
We're allies, walking each other home.
Absolutely, walking each other home, understanding that we are not, it's like you're on your own path, but every once in a while you can find times when you can walk hand in hand with someone on your path, right? And the path may diverge in the future. Don't worry about that. And it wasn't together in the past. Don't worry about that. Right now, y'all are together. And the peer mentorship is where we are able to flesh out and power up our experiment. Because it gets really deep on that one-to-one or in a very small group. And I really think more like one-to-one, almost avoiding the penta. Like the community is the penta. Yeah. The fifth line, it's a one-to-one thing. And it's not about you're going to fix me, I'm going to fix you, you're going to save me, I'm going to save you. You have saved me. I have saved you. And I ain't do shit. I just listened. Right? Because we were there. So that peer mentorship is, part of it is about validating your reality in the experiment.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if I was the only person studying human design in the area I was at and that no one else knew human design. Like, I have my daughter to validate my reality. I'm so excited about that. She's 23 years old. She's been in her experiment about 5 years. So when I learned about human design, she picked it up, and to have a youthful mind pick it up so fast means I have gained from her knowledge. She is a true guide. She guides me. I recognize I was able to help her and apologize for, and to, and there's no guilt around it, but to be like, oh my gosh, I see how I've conditioned you, and not just mechanically, but how I passed on the world's conditioning, and and correcting that error, and then moving forward. So peer mentorship, she's a peer mentor to me. Nova is a peer mentor to me. Brandy, you're a peer mentor to me. Our energy has been talking a long time, right? So when I look at you all, like, it's a necessity. I don't think that can you get deconditioned without it? Absolutely. But we're talking about that acceleration. We were talking about, you guys were talking about how it's on a fast track. And when you think it's on a fast track, it feels fast. It's just, it feels easier.
Because it's timeless.
Because timeless.
There's no time.
Boom.
It's
Timelessness.
just because you're literally, human design is a language that keeps you present. It keeps you in the present moment with your body. That's why I've noticed if someone doesn't have any type of medical knowledge, like they don't have anything about the body, the chakras, the energy, they have no language, they tend to only pull from their past experiences.
Yes.
So when they're even trying to articulate what's going on in the moment, they only can talk about their past because that's the only language their mind has been taught.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, oh man, you need a different language.
Yeah.
Are you called to like chakras, learning about energy, learning about anything like this? Because when you talk about yourself, that's the language that's going to keep you in the present moment. And then like HD brings you to like
even deeper than the biology. It
Yes.
brings you to the mechanics.
Yeah.
So it can like stop people in their tracks. It's like, whoa. Like when someone's non-HD and they're hearing HD.
Yeah.
Talk about it. We actually made thought of a meme yesterday because he's new. He's like, what is that? Is that the 4427? What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
What's going on? What are you guys talking about? You know? And but it brings him in. You know,
Yeah.
it's like there's such a presence that's being discussed. It's like
And that-
everyone's like,
And just remember, like that, and that's the whole thing. This peer mentorship, that's 5-line presence,
Mhm.
power.
Mhm.
It's an
Directness.
direct. It's so empowering and so much about the present. So, for me, having these peer mentors along the way has been invaluable, and I'm just so grateful that this has been the case, right? So, then I'm gonna go to the next one, which is hard for people to understand or feel into because everybody wants it now. But this, we know what the 6th line is about. 6th line don't give a shit. It's waiting. It's long. It's integration is the last pillar, and integration is simply time. Now, not talking about time like it's exactly 7 years. That okay, guys. It is allowing the lessons and the nuances to integrate into your being. So then you become you're living the design. That's the 6th line. That's the role model. To live it. Now it's not something you think about. It's something you do automatically. And even with when I talked about all the pillars of deconditioning, those pillars become natural to you. You'll know when you need a long time. You'll know when you need a community. You can, and it's the thing, you will begin to just dance inside of all of this naturally. That takes time, y'all. You know, you have to come in with will. You have to be willing.
Coachable, constructive criticism.
Yeah.
open to
I mean,
all.
you can even be resistant, but willing.
Yeah.
But willing.
Yeah.
I'm not, like I said, I ain't gonna name no names, but there is a particular manifestor woman, and I love her so much. But I didn't gave her a terrible nickname on the back end because I got terrible shit inside me, y'all.
7 open centers, man.
Yeah, I got that, but I was just like, you know, I would see her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, highly intelligent, like so many people are, just intelligent. If you give her the answer, she looks at the answer and then throw the answer because she's like, I don't like that. It doesn't fit. But 2 years later, like I've been observing her from a distance, 2 years later, she went back. She was like, hey, y'all, I got the answer. I don't tell her nothing. I just let her. You know, some people, you're not supposed to tell them the answer. First of all, nobody wants the answer.
Yeah.
They don't really want the answer.
They have their own answer.
They got the answer. You got the answer. Like, oh, I got a better answer than you do.
Their questions are more powerful because then
Absolutely.
they find their answer.
Because I always say this. Your answers are in the questions. But then, you know, again, who are you asking the question to? So anyway, I think that's about it. I don't know how long this lasted, and I hope I didn't overkeep it.
Perfect on time.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good. Thank y'all so much for coming, and it was really a pleasure. Oh wait, so I think I have a goodie or two in here. Goodies. Nah, I got some goodies, guys. Okay, first off, I'm not giving this away yet, but isn't that cute? But yeah, I love this. My daughter and I designed the shirt and also this. Okay, so first off, okay, I didn't make these, but I'm gonna give out some buttons because I have so many of them. No, I'm gonna give out a couple of buttons. So I'm gonna give you this one. And first off, yeah, I just want you to remember who I am. There's that one for you. And of course for you. I want you to remember that too, because the thing about it is currently Manifestors is all Manifestors community. But I know that I need my other types, y'all. Because my daughter, I rely on her so much for everything that has happened in Manifestors. My projector daughter
Yeah.
And oh, she's in there though.
Well, but I think projectors, I was saying this in our projector group, I said, I think we're actually the ultimate manifestors. They say we can't manifest.
No, y'all.
Oh, no,
Master
because you spin that web and manifest everything coming without you doing a thing.
I watch
That's
my dog.
powerful
I
manifestation.
watch my dog do it. She's
Yeah, I mean, the
Oh,
thing,
really?
so
28, 30.
I just want to clear up one thing. I guess we're really done, but I guess we can just keep on talking. Manifest. Look up the etymology of that word. Because people think they want to manifest. Really, manifest just means shit starter. It's a troublemaker. The fest in manifest is the same fest that's infest.
Really?
Yes, it's like not the greatest, guys. So when you say, I would say you attract what you want. You create, but I'm like, manifest, who wants to be a troublemaker? I do because I'm manifest.
Well, yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
and you like, yeah, I'm.
I noticed for generators, like as a generator, is I manifest from the body,
Yes.
and then I've recognized in my life, like my body, I would get lit up by a job, and my mind would be super locked in on it, and then a month would go by and I wouldn't be lit up anymore, and I'd be like, wait a minute, what? I thought this was it. I thought this was gonna be like the job that I love, yet I would stop being lit up, which was telling me I was done learning what I was meant to
Yeah.
learn there, and then now it's next for the next thing to be lit up about. But mind again is in time.
Like
and
I
it's
want to be lit up about this forever. Like nah, dog.
And so over time though, I've taken what resonates and gotten rid of the rest, and now that I'm 31, I haven't manifested shit. But because I've lived my life and like I'm across with the rebels, so I've always just done me, 6'2".
Yeah.
I have noticed that my external is a manifestation of the resonances that I've picked up over time in my life.
And I don't know if you manifested something.
Yeah, but I mean like it wasn't like conscious manifestation, like I'm thinking about this life the whole time. It just kind of happened.
My cover photo right now is the person I am in this moment. I manifested. The person I am in this moment is manifesting another version of myself. I'm a compensated.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Not at the moment, no, but we're about to finish up.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much done. I think I'm supposed to make this recording now.
The visceral things.
Oh, did you help with that?
The syrup thing.
I think it's over on the right hand side. You can just stop recording and.
Yeah.